So for the week 4 discussion forum, we're going to be talking about tone, style, and diction. So respond and discuss. Tone, style, and diction are powerful tools of the storyteller and often underappreciated by readers. Choose one of the stories you read this week and analyze this story for its tone, style, and diction. Respond to the following questions. What is the author's tone in this story? What hints are there within the story that reveal this attitude? How would you characterize the story's writing style? How is the style reflected in the tone and diction? Give a specific example of this style within the writing. Select words or ideas that characterize this writing style. What words in the story did you find most powerful? Select at least 3 words from the story and describe the effect of those words on the story. What did you learn about storytelling from your analysis on the tone, style, and diction? Does this exercise heighten your appreciation for authors? And so when we talk about tone, we're talking about whether the tone is happy, sad, grisly, scary. For example, in a Stephen King novel, the tone is usually horror-filled. Style. Style is what kind of, does the author use a lot of description, like Charles Dickens, or does the author use a lot of dialogue, like Ernest Hemingway? Diction is how does the author use language in order to establish an effect. And so authors like Flannery O'Connor would have their characters speak in a southern accent. And so, for instance, the dialogue for one character will sound like, "Hey y'all, how y'all doing?" in order to capture the actual accent of that character. So that's an example of the diction, using authentic language in order to establish a certain effect. That's just one style of diction. So how does the author use all of these elements, tone, style, and diction, in order to create the ambiance of the story? And in Telltale Heart, for example, Edgar Allan Poe had a tone that was dark and filled with horror. His style, he used a lot of adjectives that described, the grisly deed of dismembering the body and hiding it under the floorboards. Diction. Diction would be the style of speech of the narrator, and for Edgar Allan Poe, it was that of the unreliable narrator, in which the narrator questioned his own sanity. And diction also meaning that the the narrator also spoke in a very confidential and as if the reader was the confidant. So diction, in other words, how the narrator spoke. And so here, using tone, style, and diction, how does the story of this week, how does the storyteller, Shirley Jackson in The Lottery, use tone, style, and diction to create a certain ambiance, a certain mood for the story? So that's basically what we're dealing with this week, is the mood. So what is the plot of The Lottery? That's the story we're reading for this week. As you read the story or watch the video, what is the setting? Where does the story take place? Inside or outside? Who are the characters? Are they city people, country people? Think to yourself, everyone would want to win a lottery, so why are the characters so grim? So this has to do with tone. Why are they so nervous and anxious? And this has to do with diction. Don't you think the characters should be happy there, happy for a chance to win $1 million? Or is that the real purpose of the lottery? And so you can also write about, because the lottery has an ironic twist at the end, just like the necklace by Guy de Maupassant, where there's a plot twist at the very end. Why does the ending of the story surprise you? What foreshadowing did the author use that you could already predict the ending of the story? Jackson uses suspense to keep the true purpose of the lottery unknown to the reader until the very end of the story. How can you use this story technique when you tell stories to your kids? How does the tone, style, and diction make the story more effective? And some more story analysis questions. What was the purpose of the lottery? Is it what you think it was going to be? Why is the lottery a critique about conformity gone wild? What outdated traditions in society should we get rid of? In other words, what life lessons do we learn from reading the lottery? And how is the lottery similar to Hunger Games? So these are all questions you can ponder for and all of these elements, all of these questions answer the question of how Shirley Jackson used tone, style, and diction in her story to build a certain somber ambiance to the story. And that's the whole art of storytelling, is knowing how to create a certain mood and a certain ambiance by using all of these story techniques. So if you want to be a writer of stories, you have to know how to set a certain mood in order to, just like for an artist, if I want to set a very happy tone, I would use colors like yellow, red, orange, anything in the warm kind of color sphere. If I want to set the tone for a cold, distant, mean, horror kind of story, I would use things in blue, white, and black. So that's how, as an artist, I set the ambiance. That's how I set the tone, style, and diction, or the ambiance or atmosphere of my drawing. So in the same token, how does the storyteller set the tone for his story? So that's basically what this this week's forum is about, setting the tone and setting the so here you have the full movie of the lottery, so you can watch it as a movie. You can also read many different versions of the lottery. Here's a version of the lottery for ESL students. Here is a storyboard comic strip of the lottery. So I found all of this stuff online, so you can read it in many different aspects and think to yourself, how all of these different aspects add up to the ambiance of the story. And then here you have the graphic novel, like it's similar to a comic strip. I think that's a little more involved. But anyway, so here you have many different ways in which you can read or watch the lottery. Another story that we're going over this week is The Story of an Hour. This is also, just like the lottery, also has a surprise ending and has a plot twist. So that's basically what all of these stories have in common this week, are that you're reading stories that have a surprise ending and that have a surprise twist that makes it. So how does setting a certain mood or ambiance, then having a surprise at the emphasize or intensify the surprise at the very end? So that's going to be your topic for your week 4 forum for this week. And then next is your reader's symbols, your reader's journal. And so here this week you're going to write about symbols. And so here the purpose of the reader's journal is to provide you a place to explore ideas, discuss reading, and ask questions about the text you read for the course. The reader's journal will ask you to reflect on the readings for the week with questions as prompts, but your response does not need to be in essay format. You can use a bulleted list or an outline. The language style in the reader's journal is much more informal than your other reading assignments. So when referring to the events of the story, call it a plot so as to familiarize yourself with the academic vocabulary of literature. So for week 4, reader's journal on symbols, you're going to write about the symbolism of the story. And so reflect upon the symbols contained within the story The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. Keep in mind that symbols do not always refer to objects, but symbols can also refer to characters and settings. So identify 3 symbols or symbolic elements contained within the story. For each symbol, address the following issues. Describe the symbol itself. Where does it appear in the story? What is the significance in the story of the symbol? What does this person, setting, or object symbolize? What is the author's purpose in including the symbol in the story? So basically you're going to look for 3 different symbols in The Lottery and then talk about what those symbols mean. And so here, so no one has done the assignment so far, and so basically when we talk about symbols, as a writer, sometimes we want to add more layers of meaning to a story. So I remember reading a story about a vase. It was about a vase that was shallow and empty. And that symbolized the shallowness and emptiness of life, or the it was, now I remember, it was a vase with a double face. And the vase symbolized how people can be shallow, how people can just judge other people on their outside beauty. And it also symbolized how people can be just wear a mask and not be their true selves. So that's an example of a symbol that just came to my head. And Shirley Jackson uses that sort of thing. What does the lottery itself? In other words, when she named the whole story The Lottery, what does that symbolize? And then there was one particular, I'll give you a hint. There's one particular character that stands out, and she protests the lottery. And she is one of the symbols in this story. So then I would ask you, what does she symbolize? Why did Shirley Jackson write this story? And what happened to her at the end? In other words, to the character. And that's one of, and then you're going to find the other 2 symbols. I'll let you guys figure that out yourself. The other symbol is an object, and let's see, that's 2 out of 3. So one is a person, one is an object that I can think of, and I think the third one could actually just be the title of the whole tradition. What does that symbolize? Why did Shirley Jackson? You have to read the story, and if you just listen to this video and you go, what is she talking about? You should watch this video after you've read the story. Then it would make more sense. So as you read the story, be aware of the symbolism and be aware of what everything symbolizes and why did Shirley Jackson write this story, especially with the plot twist at the very end. So that's pretty much what this particular journal is about, is finding symbols in stories. And if you're a writer yourself, it's a lot of fun to stick in symbols into a story, to add more layers of interpretation. Symbols are also a way of foreshadowing in order to tell the reader later on something bad or something good is going to happen. So have fun with this assignment and then find the 3 symbols which will help you tell the overall meaning, because in this case the 3 symbols will tell you the overall meaning and life lesson that the lottery is meant to teach for, and the reason why Shirley Jackson wrote this particular story. And let's see, the next one is tone and diction. So let me go to week 4, see if there's any other assignments that you need to do, because I think I went over that. Okay, it's just these 2. Okay, so basically in week 4 you just have to do your tone, style, and diction, and then the reader's journal on symbols. And so I've already gone over what all of these words mean in my week 4 lecture, so you can go watch my week 4 lecture for more information about week 4. And if you have any questions, you can always email me.